Welcome to Master Gardening. I'm your host, Bud Qualk, and we're here at the University of Kentucky's McCracken County Extension Office. We're here with the Master Gardeners, and they're putting on another toolbox gardening program. It's called Succulents. If you want to grow a plant that is easy to grow, this is what you want. Maybe we can talk you into starting some. So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The talk today is Succulent Simplified. This is a subject that you could probably talk for hours because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of species. Well, let me get into that a little bit. And I brought some note cards so I would try not to forget anything. Succulents are found in almost every part of the world, especially where plants have trouble getting and holding water. They are found in most deserts, like in North and South America, Mexico, Africa, and in the Sahara Desert, all 9 countries in the Sahara Desert. These plants are also found in the Arctic and the Antarctic, where cold makes it really hard to absorb water. So it's hard to believe these plants can survive in deserts where it's 130, or in the Arctic where it's -30. They also do real well in sandy soils. And I always wondered how they could live in sandy soils or rocky soils, especially where water is scarce and where water drains really quickly and evaporates really quickly. Succulents comes from the Latin word succulentus, which means juicy or fleshy. They're kind of thick. In botany, the question is, what is a succulent? Succulents are plants that are thickened and engorged, usually to retain water in arid climates or dry soil conditions. Cactuses or cacti and succulents, they're known as xerophytes with an X. A xerophyte is something that can live with little water. And I wanted to clarify something. There's like 1,800 different species of cactus. And all cactuses are succulents, but not all succulents are cactus. Cactus have something in them, like this plant here. This is called Eve's needle. Cactus have something called an areole, which is a spine, a central point where it can grow from. And it's pronounced A-R-I-E-L. Actually, it's pronounced areole. And because of that, cactuses can grow tall. All other succulents, they lack this. They do not have that. So that's the difference. But all cactuses are succulents, but not all succulents are cactus. Now I'm going to get into the crux of this meeting and give you some unique characteristics of succulents. And several years ago, when I started growing these, I became fascinated with them. To me, they almost became spiritual, because when I saw how our Creator made these things, and then through microevolution, through millions of years, how they have evolved, it's amazing the characteristics they have. And I'm going to go through some of these right now. Like I said before, these plants can handle extremely hot and extremely cold weather. They're very adaptable to climate. They can climatize so well. A lot of plants can't do this, but these plants are very good at climatizing. They store water in their leaves and their stems. You can see how thick they are, but they're full of water. And that's, if you learn one thing today, that's what a succulent is. It's a plant that stores water in its leaves and its stems. They're also designed where they can capture water very easily. For instance, like this panda plant right here on the end, it's real soft, and when it rains, it can just soak it up. Some plants are shaped conical, or like a rose. When the rain falls, they just funnel the water right down to the roots. They're very good at capturing water. The other thing about succulents that I found fascinating was their root system. They have fast absorbing roots. They have to get it quick. And what's amazing, a lot of them have very deep roots to give the plant stability, especially in high wind. But also they've got roots that come up and grow up like this close to the surface. That way, if it rains just a little, they can grab it. And the roots are fast like straws at sucking up water. They just take it and suck it right up. It's amazing. I've had plants before that were getting wrinkled, and you can tell that sometimes when your succulent gets a little dry and wrinkled. You give it some water, within minutes, that water's coming up to the leaves. They're fast absorbing roots. Another incredible thing about succulents, their sap is something that insects don't like. They make their own insecticide. Insects don't like these guys, which is amazing. In some cases, though, where you have new growth, where it's light green, you might have aphids or spider mites or mealybugs get in there, but overall, insects do not like succulents. Another incredible feature about these things, some of them that have thorns and needles and hair, like the snow plant over here, the snow cactus, that prevents animals from eating them. Just handling this thing today, I got stuck several times. I wouldn't consider trying to eat this thing. You get teeth in your mouth. The other thing about these thorns and teeth and hair, they act like sunscreen. As the sun moves across the sky, the hair creates little shadows to protect this thing. So with thick skin and hair, they produce their own sunscreen. We said this earlier, succulents, juice or sap, they're incredible at storing water. We're going to see about 50 slides, so I've got to move pretty quick. The geometric patterns of these things are phenomenal. Aren't they beautiful? And you can see how they can capture water when it falls. There's an aloe. We all know what aloe vera is. Here's a nice aloe vera right here. Sometimes people use these in gardens, succulent garden. There's a globe cactus. Like I said, there's approximately about 1,800 different cacti or cactuses. They all tend to bloom. This is the globe cactus because it's shaped like the globe. This is an incredible feature of some of these plants. This is the split rock or the living stone. These are native to South Africa, and when they grow, they look like rocks. And they do real well in deserts because when it rains, they suck up the water and they can sit there for months without any additional rainfall. What's amazing in South Africa, where it's real dry and animals are looking for water, if they knew those rocks were full of water or those succulents were full of water, they would eat them, but they disguise themselves. I've grown these and they're a lot of fun. I had some in a big bowl one time and I mixed it with pebbles and rocks, and it was hard to tell the difference between the living stones and the rocks. Here's a moon cactus. It looks like a planet with moons all around it. Here's another nice cactus garden. They do real well in containers, as you can see that. They're non-invasive. They grow well together. They like to crowd together. So they do real well in containers. The geometric patterns of these things are gorgeous. They're slow growers, but they're absolutely beautiful. Today I'm going to quickly show you a few slides of 9 major families in the succulents, the succulent genus. And here's how you pronounce them. I've underlined the syllable to be it. Aeoniums, agaves, aloes, crassulas, echuverias, that's an H, not a K, echuverias, euphorbias, haworthias, kalanchos, and sedums. Today I'm going to refer to succulents as their common name. They're in botanical nomenclature, all succulents have Latin names. As a matter of fact, all plants have Latin names. Latin names are very precise. They usually have something to do maybe where the plant is from, maybe what family it's in, possibly a description. An example I've got here, this little panda plant right here from Southeast Asia. It grows where there's pandas, obviously. This plant is part of the Kalanchoe family, and it also is covered in hair. And there's a Latin word which means covered in hair called tomentosa. So the Latin name for this plant is the Kalanchoe tomentosa. But today it's going to be the panda plant. So I know it. I've got an app in my phone. Have you ever seen this before? I guess most of you have seen this. It's called Picture This. It's an incredible app. You can walk up to any plant and take a picture of it, and it'll tell you what it is. It will tell you all about that plant. It also will get into how to take care of plants, trends. You can have a gallery of all your plants. It'll also show you videos. And I drew this today, and today on this app, it comes through my phone. Today it said, it taught me how to decorate your garden, how to create a pollinator garden, 8 kitchen herbs to grow in the spring, famous women in history and the flowers they love, and 10 essential tasks of lawn care. This app is incredible. It's called Picture This. I use it all the time. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking about it. I used to be a Boy Scout leader, and I used to teach the Nature Merit Badge, and I used to take kids on hikes, and I had to learn all the trees, and I'd be walking them through the woods, and they'd be going, Mr. Hank, what's that, what's that? I would have loved to have had this. God, where were you when I needed you? Anyway, oh, my other picture that I forgot to show, succulents are like camels with roots. I know. And when I told my daughter I was going to show this, she's like, oh, Dad, you know. When she was a little girl, she'd have friends over, and I would come in there with my Scooby-Doo boxers on, or I'd be, saying something. I was always embarrassing her. She was always going, Dad, Dad. So today, I'll try not to have too many dad moments. This is a aeonium. Aeonium is from the Canary Islands, which is off the west coast of North Africa. These plants, they grow from the new growth is from the center, and they have rosettes that come up on the side. These are a very unusual succulent because they're used to actually cooler weather. When it gets too hot for these plants, they go dormant, and they wait till fall and winter, and some people call them winter growers. The one I just showed you was a kiwi aeonium, and this one is the houseleek black rose. Some people actually call it the black aeonium. And like a lot of plants, sometimes they'll have several names. We all know what agaves are. Agaves are not cactus because they lack that spine that cactus have, but they look like cactus. And the interesting about agaves, they were from over in Africa, where your cactuses are over here in North and South America and Mexico. So this is the agave century plant. They can be dangerous because of their spikes and their tips. I saw one over at James Sanders Nursery the other day that was about this big. The reason they call this the century plant, they can live to be 100 years old. And there's even cases where these have lived and been documented to live over 200 years old. So some of these agaves can live for centuries. It's amazing. This is a variegated agave, also called a century plant because it can live to be over 100. And this is the Utah agave. It offers clusters of small rosettes. And this is an incredibly resilient plant. It can live out in the desert, 130 degrees, no water for months, sandy soil, in elevations of 6,000 feet, and do fine. It's unbelievably resilient. Now we're getting into aloes. Aloes are really pretty. All of the aloes bloom. This one here, it's the sunset aloe. When this one's in a lot of sun, it turns red when the plant gets a little stressed, like a lot of plants. This is the spiral aloe. Isn't it beautiful? The geometric patterns of these things are incredible. All these designs just didn't happen by chance. They're just incredible. The tiger aloe. These are some of the blooms that the aloes put out. And yep, aloes bloom every year. All right, let's get into crassulas, or jades. Like here's a jade here. This is your common jade plant right here. That's a baby jade. Jade are stacked-like. They have thick leaves and stems. They're very tough, resilient, with remarkable water storage. They have incredible survival skills. This is sometimes called the baby jade because the leaves are really small. The Campfire Crassula, also known as the red pagoda. When it gets stressed in the sun, it turns red, looks like a campfire. See how they're stacked up? And this is a real neat one. The Crassula perforata. I've actually grown this one. It's slow growing, but they're really pretty. Notice the red trim. Some people call this the necklace vine. Let's get into Echuverias, native to Texas and Central America. They're plump-petaled roses, ruffled, fuzzy rosettes, and they produce pups. I've grown this one. It's fun too. This one here is the blue rose. Some people call this a hen and chicks. There's several different versions of hen and chicks. This is a bridal bouquet where they took succulents and mixed them with roses. Isn't that neat? The bridal bouquet that needs no water. Now we're getting into euphorbias. Remember, euphorbias look like cactus, but they're not. This is the pencil tree, fire sticks. My daughter, Mary Catherine, has grown this before. As you can see, when it gets stressed, they turn red. The new growth coming up is still green. These plants are native to Africa, and they resemble cactus. We talked about that earlier. This is another version of the hen and chicks. All right, we're into Haworthiopsis. I think someone brought one today. Those are nice little plants. These are diminutive or small succulents from South Africa. These are popular house plants, and they can actually grow in really low light conditions. I think I've got one of these right over here in this combination plant. And that's the ice plant. They bloom quite a bit. Mexican stone crop. More hen and chicks. Stone crop are small plants. They grow close to the ground. They like full sun. We were giving a few away today over there. They're really nice to fill in places in your garden. Like I said, they love full sun. They don't get very big. Ruby peperomia. We've got some of those over here. Okay, I'm now into the kalanchos. Kalanchos are from South Africa all the way to Vietnam. They call this the supermarket kalancho. I see these in Kroger all the time. Yeah, I mean, every time I go in there, they've got these things in there. And they bloom year-round. They have all different colors. They're absolutely gorgeous. I missed one a minute ago I wanted to show you. Right there, that's the paddle plant, which is also a kalancho. The kalancho is a genus of hundreds of different species. Matter of fact, we're giving one of those away today over there. Stone crop, let's get over here. There we go. There's the panda plant, right over here. I read something interesting about them the other day. This plant is from Southeast Asia, obviously where they have pandas, yet they found a ton of these in another spot on the planet. They didn't know how they got there. Well, about 200 million years ago, part of Southeast Asia broke away and floated west and landed about 200 miles off the east coast of Africa and formed an island called Madagascar, the fourth largest island on the planet. And it was full of panda plants. They hitched a ride 200 million years ago, which is kind of neat. Here's some more of the living stones. These don't get very big, but they're kind of fun to grow. After they've been out in the sun for a while and develop a little patina and a little age to them, you mix them with rocks and they look like rocks. We've all heard of the prickly pear cactus. This is a great cactus that, great cactus that grows pretty quickly. It blooms quite a bit. We see those a lot in places. The mistletoe cactus, its blooms look like mistletoe. This is a cactus I had a picture of that was down in Mexico. It's a cactus tree, the blue myrtle-cactus. Now we talk about plants being able to hold water. They think this cactus is holding over 1,000 gallons of water. It could probably go for years without rainfall. It's amazing. One of the things that I left out, one of the most incredible features, unique features of succulents, I always wondered how they could live in sand or just rocks. How can a cactus do that with no fertilizer? Succulents have evolved to do something incredible. They can take sunlight and CO2, carbon dioxide, and produce their own energy and make their own food. Isn't that amazing? So that's amazing. So if they're out in the middle of the desert in nothing but sand and they soak up the water, they can be fine. So they produce their own energy and make their own food. It's an amazing feature. They do good in pots, containers. They could be mixed with things for decoration. Here are my top 10. Top 10 easy succulents to grow. If you want to start growing these, or possibly have children, grandchildren that maybe want to get into growing succulents, they've become very chic and popular. There's the top 10. I've got several of those here today. Yeah, I brought the panda plant, aloe vera, Eve's needle. I forgot to introduce these guys. I've got some combination plants here, a jade plant, and of course the snow cactus. And I left this one out. This cactus has a lot of color to it. It has a lot of different shades of green. It's also got red, pink, orange, yellow in it. And it's called Jacob's coat, after the story in the Bible. I'm sorry, Joseph's coat. Jacob, remember, had the son, and his 11th son was his favorite, and he gave him the coat of many colors. So this is called Joseph's coat. Joseph's coat cactus. All right. Oh, there it is again, Mary. Dad.
We weren't putting the succulent with a camel with roots in, but we put it in.
All right.
Go back, show off your camel.
Oh, there it is.
You gotta tell them what it is.
This artwork could probably be purchased later. Just see me after the meeting. All right. Here's some common problems. Probably one of the biggest problems with succulents is people overwater them. These fellas, they like dry feet, dry roots. And we'll get into that in a minute. Here's a plant that I entered in the McCracken County Fair, which this facility sponsors. Thank you all very much. And I entered that one a few years ago, and it had the fire sticks and the prickly pear cactus and the ogre ears and the string of pearls. Plus, you can even make succulent clothes now. I think, Dan, your wife would probably like some succulent. You might have to make some of those for her. Some of these are just absolutely gorgeous. They're good in rock gardens where they can take full sun all day. Here's a great one with the fire sticks and the agaves up above them. Isn't that pretty? They're great to mix together. And it's fun to go into the stores and just find some, oh, that would look good with that, and that would look good with that, and just create your own. And that's what I did with some of these. I've got the lady fingers here with something called ogre ears here. And just, it's fun to take plants and just mix them together. A new thing which has kind of become popular. This is, no, I can't. I'm sorry, she's going, Dad. But this has become kind of a neat idea. When you give a present to someone, they rip off the paper and the bowl. What do they do with it? They throw it away. You can go to the store and get them a nice little succulent. It'll stay on there fine for a week or longer. And give them a nice succulent is the bow. Then they can take that and plant it and have a nice plant for years. I took this picture, I got this picture in 2012 at the National Lawn and Garden Show out in Los Angeles. They had this big globe. It was 14 feet in diameter and it was rotating. It was made of 20,000 succulents. It's pretty neat. This is what your yard could look like. Containers, once again, enable you to plant literally dozens of different succulents. They love containers. The nice thing about containers is you could, like any plant, you can move them. You can take them inside in the wintertime. You can put them in the right sun. If it's going to rain a lot, you can bring them inside so you can move them. I was going to show you, if you're going to raise succulents, they need to be able to drain well. So have a big hole in the bottom, or what I do sometimes, I have a lot of holes. And matter of fact, when I bought this plant about 3 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed drilling holes in the bottom of my work boot. And it drains really well. That was fun. And I'll give you a little tip. A lot of times people, they put their dirt in here and they want it to drain, so sometimes they'll put rocks or pebbles or something in the bottom to help it drain. Well, that makes the plant heavy. I've started using styrofoam, and it works really well. I'll put about 4 or 5 inches down there of styrofoam. It lets the plant drain really well, and it keeps the pot from being too heavy. Like this Jade plant here, you'd think it'd be really heavy. It's not heavy at all, you know. I'm just really strong. Dad! Anyway, if you're going to use a pot that drains well with styrofoam, get some good soil that's going to drain well, something that has lots of vermiculite in it. You can even add sand to it, just as long as it drains well. If you're going to fertilize your plant once in a while, there's all kinds of different succulent plant food out there. Sometimes I'll squirt this in the bottle and just put it in there. Once again, these plants, they love dry roots. They like dry feet. So it's important they drain well completely. When I water my plants, I don't just dump water in there. And what you don't want to do is give it too much water. Because let's say your water goes so far, your roots go so far down, and then you've got this much dirt below it. If the water keeps going, what does it do to that dirt? It just gets it wet, and it's going to stay wet forever. And then you're going to have wet roots, dry rot, or root rot, mildew, mold, fungus, whatever. So I'm going to show you how I water my plants. I make little craters right around the plant. Just pour a little bit around it. Well, if you can see that or not, it's sucking it right down. That's all it needs. And sometimes I'll even take the fertilizer, put a little in there. Let me make another little crater here. I'll make a little crater around the plant where it's right over the plant. Oh, it's taking it right down. That's all it needs. The other thing I wanted to stress about taking care of these things, propagating succulents is fairly easy. Some of them have seeds. That's all I need. Some of them you can actually take a leaf and put it in soil, and they don't need water because there's water in the leaf, and it'll propagate itself. It takes a while, but they need sunlight. What you don't want to do is walk up with a big bucket of water and just go whatever. The other thing I've noticed too, don't give your plants chlorinated water. Now what you can do, I know bottled water is expensive to be giving plants. Get your 5-gallon bucket, fill it up, set it outside, and let it dissipate the chlorine out for a week. If you're not going to water your plant for a week, let it just sit outside and let all the chlorinate dissipate out of it. If it rains, great, that'll make it more organic. Maybe even throw some Miracle-Gro in there to give it a little, fertilizer. But try not to give your plants chlorinated water. They do not like chlorinated water. Matter of fact, if you go down, I went through a tour one time at the Paducah Waterworks, and as I was going through it, they had these big 55-gallon drums with skull and crossbones on it, full of chlorine, which is toxic stuff. They put it in our water to kill the bacteria. Our systems can kind of handle it, but plants don't like it at all. So try to give your plants non-chlorinated water. Yes? Good question. He wants to know about what you can use outside in the wintertime in Kentucky, year-round. Well, most cactuses do well outside year-round. Prickly pear cactus does real well. But hen and chicks usually do well outside. And like I said, agaves do real well out there. And stonecrop do real well outside. Anyway, once again, these plants, they love dry roots. Try to keep, what you want to do is water these things and let them completely dry out, which they'll be fine. Because if they need water, they're storing water. Non-chlorinated water. Sunlight. Most cactus love direct sunlight all day. Succulents like indirect sunlight. So give your succulents either morning light or afternoon light, or have the middle of the day light covered. Try to avoid leaving your plants out in the rain, because if a thunderstorm comes along and rains it, it will fill this thing up with water, and then it will never dry, and your plant will die. So try to keep the plants from getting too much water. If you want to know where you can buy plants here in town or in the area, I've gotten mine at Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Kroger, James Sanders Nursery, this place over on South 31st Street, I think it's called Flower and Furbish, Montgomery Gardens. Almost any place they sell plants now are selling succulents. They've become very popular.
We want to thank all the viewers out there that tuned in. We had the Zoomers, we had the TV people, the YouTubers, and in person. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Master Gardening.